Movement podcast with our host, Dr. Jack Rocco. Dr. Jack, how are you? Know we have another really intriguing guest. I love the fact of where he is and what he's looking to do in medicine.
Yeah, Jeff and I connected, about 5 years ago now?
Yeah, it's been about that long. Yeah.
And we started in the regenerative medicine arena, started connecting. And now Jeff is a part of a company that does weight loss products that are all natural. And what I love about them is that as opposed to the common or the popular GLP-1 products, this is a company and a product that uses your body's own cells, your own L cells in the small intestine to generate your own GLP-1. So it avoids the complications that you often get with GLP-1s. And it also avoids that if you come off the medication, there's not that sudden crash. And the science behind it is very interesting. And they've got some good studies to back it, both clinical bench studies. And Jeff has done a fantastic job of walking the walk and talking the talk. He's half the man he used to be when I first met him.
Yeah, no.
At least a portion of that. So I'm going to just let you introduce yourself, Jeff. Give your story is very compelling, very interesting. And if you're not motivated and excited by this story of a yo-yo dieter turned success, this is something that is achievable. So go ahead, Jeff, introduce yourself.
Well, thanks, Jack. Yeah, it's crazy. I was trying to think how we actually originally met. I don't know if it was on LinkedIn or where it was that we actually met, where it was talking to Neil about that. But I have always been a big guy. I always tell a story. I graduated 8th grade at 200 pounds. I knew that I wanted to play football and I didn't know how far I would make it. In 8th grade, I was playing offensive line in my junior high team, 9th grade team, even though I was in 8th because I was a good enough player and a big enough guy. And then went through high school, got up to about 265. That was my playing weight in college. And then ended up playing 2 years of pro ball after I left college. So I've always been big. When I graduated college and then started in the NFL, I was playing around between 285 and 300 pounds. And then I decided that I wanted to go to medical school, and I knew football wasn't going to be my life. And so I went from working out 5 or 6 hours a day to 5 or 6 hours a day in the library. And then things started to shift. And so ever since then, I've been fighting the weight battle and have been up probably as high as about 365, 370, and down as low as 200 pounds. And the problem I know now is that obesity is obviously a long-term problem. Like I said, I started in 8th grade, and that's 55 years ago. And now I realize that we've never had an answer. And Big Pharma thought they had the answer. Big Pharma thought GLP-1 injections were going to be the answer. But here's the problem with that is the GLP-1 injections, they stop the body from making GLP-1. The body depends on the injection once a week. So the body stops. So what happens?
I think that's one thing that I wasn't necessarily aware of, because back when I went to medical school, the GLP wasn't a thing.
Right.
Soon after talking to you, you realize that the body makes its own GLP-1. Like every hormone in our body and every homeostatic mechanism, once there's an exogenous source, your body stops making it. There's a set point and there's a balance. So you go on the GLP-1, so your L cells just shut down. And while you're on it, it's fine. But tell us about the product, like what the natural elements that are in it and how it works to regenerate your body. And it also works on the oxidative stress, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
It does. And we also have our company also has an oxidative stress product. It's interesting the name of the company is LifeVantage. So LifeVantage has been out since 2005. They launched as a company then. They launched with a product called Protandim, which is an antioxidant. It's probably the best antioxidant that's available. It elevates something in your body called superoxide dismutase, which is like the key antioxidant. So one molecule of superoxide dismutase can neutralize 1 million free radicals. So if you were trying to think, you'd have to eat about 200 pints of organic blueberries a day to equal 1 pill of Protandim Nrf2. So that's where the company started. And that science, it's called activation. It's different than supplements. When you take a supplement, say if you're low in vitamin D and you want to increase your vitamin D levels, you take vitamin D. But activation is different. Activation are the small little building blocks that the body needs to activate a genetic pathway or a gene pathway. And so with the GLP-1 product, it's called Mind Body GLP-1, there's little building blocks. There's things like yerba mate and honeysuckle and matcha and berberine, all plant-based products. But you take those little products and the L cells use these little products to make GLP-1. So now you're increasing your GLP-1 levels from within, not from an outside source. And we were able to do 2 clinical studies. We did the first 12-week clinical study before we even launched the product in October. And that clinical study showed that in 12 weeks, we could elevate the GLP-1 levels by 140%. Then we started looking at launching the products over in Australia and New Zealand. So we repeated the study. And on the repeat study, we found out that the 12-week period, we were able to raise those 200%. So now we're able to raise GLP-1 levels naturally in the body by 200%. So what does that mean? That means when you go off of it, your levels are still elevated. So if you don't go back to the things that cause your GLP-1 levels to go down, then you're going to keep elevated GLP-1 levels. So what makes GLP-1 levels drop? Aging does. And I can see everybody on the call, Neil's obviously the youngest on the call, but as we age, our GLP-1 levels go down. But here's the bigger problem. If you've been heavy since 8th grade, like I was, yo-yo dieting lowers GLP-1 levels. So I've been on every diet. I've done all the way back, cabbage soup diet, Atkins diet, keto, Weight Watchers, every fad diet that ever came out, I tried. Jack remembers HCG, remembers the Fen diet, did both of those. And what happens?
Jeff, what is it exactly that GLP-1 does? Like, how does GLP-1 cause you to lose weight?
Yeah,
What is
so
the
it's
mechanism behind that?
multifactorial. And we're finding out more and more as we go. So one is it increases insulin levels. So by increasing insulin levels, it decreases your chance of becoming insulin resistant. It slows the digestion in the gut so you feel full longer. So that's the initial idea is you feel full longer, you don't eat as much, and your insulin levels are high, so you're putting more glucose into your cells. But here's what they're finding, and this I think is the most interesting part. There's GLP-1 receptors in the brain, and those GLP-1 receptors in the brain are in the pleasure center of the brain. So here's what we're finding, and this is one of the things that I found, is now the cravings are going away. So you no longer have cravings for sugar. And they're finding out that you no longer have cravings for alcohol. You no longer have cravings for drugs. You no longer have cravings for nicotine. So now the addictionologists are jumping on board and saying, hey, this is something we can use in addiction medicine because it's down regulating that response at the pleasure center. I'll be honest,
that is something that really fascinates me. I was a neuroscience major in college.
Yeah, you went to, what was it, university, the other school in Pennsylvania.
The better school, right? Yeah, the good school.
No, the other one.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to separate, go to rooms
or something. What was it? What's that?
Pitt is it.
Yeah, that's it. You know what they say at Penn State?
Hey, I wasn't.
If God wasn't a Penn State fan, why is the sky blue and white?
I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to. Every time we get together, it always comes. No, but like we talked a little bit in the in offline. Like I said, I was a neuroscience major, and the brain was always my passion. But I also had a love for orthopedics and fixing things, and I still have that passion for the brain. I never got rid of it. And we talked a little bit when I was in Pittsburgh. I volunteered at the Rehab Institute of Pittsburgh, and they used to have these summer camps. And I told you the story. Like there was a condition called Prader-Willi syndrome, and at the time, I didn't know much about it, but these children have developmental delays, and they also have an insatiable appetite. And it turns out that the part of the brain that controls satiety, like you said, it's the pleasure center of the brain. And these children would come in there and learn how to diet, learn how to manage their weight naturally, And we had an episode that shows the hunger and shows the cravings that he's had. And it's a funny story and it's a sad story, but there was a canary that lived they had in a playroom. And at some point the canary vanished and the canary got out. What happened to the canary? A few days later, they found yellow feathers in one of the client's stools. So it's like it ate the canary. The patient ate the canary. Like the cravings are so insatiable when there's damage to the center. So that's the same thing. Like if you don't have the
Absolutely.
GLP-1, the satiety center is never, and its connection to addiction and alcoholism is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I self-admit I had an addiction to Oreos. We always have Oreos in the house. My son has a dairy allergy, and actually Oreos have no dairy. So we have always had Oreos as a snack. And I would walk past the pantry and the Oreos would call my name. So I was eating like between 6 and 8 Oreos a day, which really I didn't think was a problem, but obviously it's a problem. And I started this product in October of last year. And since October, I have not had an Oreo. And it's interesting, when we did the 2 clinical studies, the last part of the clinical study is we had a 30 question questionnaire that everybody completed. And one of the questions was cravings for sugar. 95% of the people that were in the study said their craving for sugar went down. So you can see how strong this GLP-1 receptor in the brain is. That if you can downregulate that, it can really change your eating habits, and it can do it for the long term. And I think we finally have a long-term solution for the long-term problem obesity.
Sure.
I think all the other diets control it for a while you're doing it, and then as soon as you go off of it, the weight comes back. And we were talking before, Jack, that the National Institute of Health did a study on the prescription GLP-1s. And what they found was after you go off of it in the first year, 90% of the patients regain 2/3 of their weight. So it's not a solution. All
Yeah,
it is now is
or
a
you're
money grab.
you change
It's a money grab for big pharma that every
And it's
other
dangerous
year,
too.
Yeah, you
every
change
other
one
year
addiction for
somebody.
another. Now, instead of being addicted to food, which I mean, overeating, and a lot of this is a food addiction,
Right.
and then you prime the body to become addicted to Wegovy or Ozempic,
Right.
whatever it is. But so now you come off it and you can't.
No,
You know,
you can't.
side
You can
effects
never
and
come
also
off
the
of it.
muscle loss. The GLP-1s have an
Well,
muscle
yeah,
loss,
so
correct?
20 big pharma admits to, so that who knows what the real number is, but they'll admit to in their studies up from a 20 to 27% muscle loss with the fat loss. And so think if you lose 80 pounds, you're losing 20 pounds of muscle. So yeah, you're lighter, but you're overall less healthy because now you're losing muscle in your back, so you start having back pain. You
Yeah,
start
and that's
on your
that's
legs.
horrible for your balance, for your
Yeah.
metabolism. So Jeff, get to the bottom line. You've had this yo-yo diet. We haven't told the audience yet
Yeah, we have it.
success that you've had. So as of now, where are you? How much weight have you lost and how
I'm
have you
down.
kept it off?
I'm down 72 pounds since October 12th.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I feel great. I have no cravings. I have no desire to eat sugar. I really feel a lot better. I was thinking today, I had my nephew for a little bit today, and he's about 60 pounds. And I thought about it would be like me carrying him on my back every day. And I couldn't do that. But when I was 70 pounds heavier, it's exactly what I was doing. And now I think I'm at a place where I could potentially stay on this product forever because we know that there's other effects. It's neuroprotective and it's cardiac protective. We know in the big pharma studies that the rate of cardiac events, heart attack and angina and things like that went down with people that were on the GLP-1. So we know it's heart protective, it's kidney protective, it's liver protective, it's neuroprotective. So why not stay on it forever and reap the benefits of that? And your GLP-1 levels will stay up, so you shouldn't put the weight back on.
Now, also, Jeff, tell me, one of the last times I saw you, I think was down in Alabama, and you were hobbling. You were having, I think you might have had a gout attack on top of just football knees and
Yeah.
60-ish year old knees. How are your joints without?
So my
70
joints
pounds
are
off
feeling
you?
great. Obviously, unloading them with 70 pounds makes them feel a lot better. The company also has, we talked about the antioxidant product and the weight loss product. They also have a collagen product. They have a product called liquid collagen. It's a little bottle.
Yeah, I've been taking that. I've been taking
know,
liquid collagen and the Tri-Synergizer, and I sleep better, my joints feel better, I have more alert, less brain fog.
As an orthopedist, we have patients come in all the time that say, hey, I saw this new product, it's shark cartilage or it's chondroitin and glucosamine, and should I take it? And it was hit or miss. Some people got better on it, most people didn't. Maybe a waste of money. But here's what I'm finding with our liquid collagen. It's 10 grams of collagen, and it activates the body to increase type 1 collagen production 100% in 8 weeks. So if you're increasing the production of collagen in the body, the joints are articular cartilage is collagen. And so if you can unload that and you can protect it, that joint pain is going to go away.
Yeah. And that's the thing is when you find something natural, you feel so much better than taking something that's a pharmaceutical, because there's always going to be side effects, and it's not going to be great to take it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And if you want to regenerate, you want the ability to biohack in a way, and you want to feel the same when you're in your 60s as you did in your 40s and 30s, you're not going to find a pharmaceutical drug that's going to do that.
No, you're absolutely right. And you think about, I've been looking at the whole science behind this activation, where you take products to activate a pathway in the body or activate the production of a gene in the body. That's a science called nutrigenomics. And it's been around since the 1990s. The Human Genome Project back in the 90s, which was published, I think, in 2003. That was the start of this science of nutrigenomics. And LifeVantage in 2005 jumped into nutrigenomics, and they called the science activation, where you could activate the body to make products. They are the first ones to ever come out with an activation product. And now we have people like Larry Page from Google and Elon Musk, and they're looking at starting their own nutrigenomics products.
And that's the thing. That's the big thing, that in Silicon Valley and all the ones that are in it for the long term, they want to live to 160, 150, Absolutely. 140. And people just don't understand this is big business now.
Yeah, and they're looking, but they haven't brought a product to market yet. We're the first ones to bring products to market.
Because other people aren't going to see this. But the point is, people are spending so much money, and I guess this is in the background, that have decided that their health is very important to them. And what percentage would you say, Dr. Jack, I'm going to ask this question, men, we're talking men now, not ultimate men's movement, not women, that are putting health first in their lives and are looking to spend whatever they can to live longer and to feel healthier.
Of course, I don't have any stats on this right on top of my
head. I threw that at you. That's something for you to, that's why you have a research team of me and ChatGPT. But
I would say that probably if you take it by, and you can confirm or deny what I'm saying here, Jeff, but if you go by decade, I think the guys in their 30s and 40s completely neglect their body. And then you start getting in your 40s and 50s, once the stuff has already started hitting the fan, and then they come in, they're like, doc, my shoulder, my hips, my knees, and I'm already 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight or more. They've got the visceral fat, they've got insulin resistance, they've got other issues that are coming along with it. They got knee arthritis, and if your BMI is over 40 or 35 in some places, you can't get a knee replacement. They come into the office and it's sad. They're like, doc, I can't walk, I can't work. I'm 55. I'm working for the electric company, and I'm trying to pull these lines. I'm trying to do this stuff, and I just can't keep up with these younger guys. What do I do? And I can't take time off. I need to squeak out 5 more years of work. And like I said, it's now you're trying to catch up. But the guys in their 30s, 40s should be taking better care of themselves. And we talk a lot about testosterone between the diets and the BPAs and all the onslaught of toxins and free radicals that you're exposed to on a day-to-day basis. I had a guy 35 recently, 35 years old, military guy, same thing, trying to get to 40, trying to retire at 35. His testosterone level was 162. That's pitiful.
Yeah.
My wife's is higher than that.
Yeah.
And the reason it is stress of life. And stress of life and not being told men aren't going to have any self-care. And so now at this point at 52 years old, so just let you know, I've reversed my age, because if you look at videos of me at 46 and 45, I did not look as young as I look now.
Yeah.
And
that's the point. Like
and
people
and and
not
and,
to live
and I
longer
but
than
I
they
had to have someone drag me kicking and screaming
by the ear
after my
Like, by the ear.
separation. And then I said, holy cow, now I'm listening to these podcasts. I'm a big fan of Dave Asprey and all these different things. And they're literally saying, you know what? We don't have to put up with this garbage that we can feel like we're 60 at 45. We don't.
Yeah, and Jeff, I'm sure you'll agree with this. You know, the guy that I just mentioned, I met him through liposuction. I did liposuction on him. He was trying to hack the system because the military has a weight circumference to a neck ratio and so I did the liposuction. I'm like, dude, you may want to consider testosterone and you may want to consider weight loss. He's on all three and he's about 2 months onto the program. And I think I sent you his text message. I'm feeling great. I'm down 17 pounds. He passed his fitness test, so he's got another year. So it would have been nice to be ahead of this a couple years ago. But like I said, now he's getting back, but it's a tougher ride.
You had asked the question earlier, why are GLP-1 levels low? And the things, yo-yo dieting, yes, but the big thing is ultra-high processed foods. Ultra-high processed foods is almost everything that we eat. Jennifer and I were at the grocery store the night before last, and the people in front of us, it was a family of 5, mom, dad, 3 kids, and you looked at their shopping cart, and it was all crap from the inside parts of the groceries. Nobody shops on the outside aisles anymore.
That's probably also because of cost.
No, it is exactly. It's because it's cheaper to buy.
I'm doing now. I said, okay, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to Clean Eats now, and I'm getting all my food from Clean Eats.
Yeah.
And for meals.
And so ultra high processed foods lowers all the hormones for metabolism, lowers thyroxine, lowers testosterone, lowers human growth hormone, lowers GLP-1. So if you're doing that from the time you're 10 or even 5 and your whole life you're going through that, what happens now when you're 30 and you're a male and your testosterone level's shot and you start putting weight on and you can't get rid of it? And that's the big problem is, so we need to control oxidative stress, and then in order to stay alive longer. And that's the biggest problem
I've started calling a lot of this high processed food. And I would be curious to do the nutritional studies. Take dog food and take some of this food, these crackers, these Cheetos, Twinkies. I would say dog food probably has more nutritional value than most of the food that people
probably
eat.
Does.
Like there's probably some carbs in there. There's probably some gristle. There's probably some substance that are actually of value. It doesn't taste good. You throw Cheetos in front of someone and they're down in 800,000 calories of just carbs and sugar and salt.
Yeah. When I do a Tuesday night live Zoom talking about the LifeVantage products and the business side of it. And I always I talk about a comparison. I go 2025 and I go back 50 years to 1975. And 1975, the obesity rate in the United States, Jack, I think knows, but we'll let Neil guess. What was the obesity rate in the United States in 1975?
I have no idea.
What is it now?
60%?
Right now it's 42%.
42%.
We have 5 states that are pushing 50, highest being West Virginia at 49.8. They predict that by 2031, 29 states will have an obesity rate of over 50%. But here, go back 50 years to 1975. The obesity rate in the United States was 10%. What's changed since 1975? The only thing that's changed is where we get our food. Back then, it was grown mostly around your home within 100 miles. The beef was raised the same way. The pork was raised. You went to the chicken farm and got chickens. Not ultra high processed foods. But also go back to 1975 again. There was no such thing as autism spectrum disorder. There was no such thing as men going through early andropause and needing testosterone. Women were not going through early menopause. So what's changed? Our diets, our oxidative stress, and the foods that we eat. That's the answer. And so if we don't control that, we're going to die off as a race.
Yeah, Jeff, that's, like I said, your mastery of the subject is incredibly impressive. When we started talking again, You just rattle these things off, but it's true. And
I took a deep dive. When I was approached back in July to join the company, I had to really see what they were doing and what they were trying to accomplish. So I dove in, and I'm that way. And so I started reading everything I possibly could about oxidative stress and about obesity, and really looking at the problem from a root cause, which most doctors have no
Right.
idea what root cause is, because they just want to push a big pharma prescription to take care of a symptom. But if you look at root cause, there's so many things that we can do to control it, but we don't, because our doctors don't give a crap about our health. They only really have a problem with our
Absolutely. I
well,
can't
let's not
believe
talk about
it. So
because
yeah,
we do care at the Ultimate Men's
yeah.
Clinic for sure.
Well, I'm sure you
Absolutely.
do, because you've drank the Kool-Aid, you get it. But for the
Yeah.
most part, doctors could
No, that they
crap
can't. They
about
don't.
your
They,
health.
there's
Well,
and
I
especially
hate to blame the doctors. I blame the system.
yeah. Oh,
Well,
8
absolutely.
minutes to see
The
a
system,
patient,
and
the
they're
price
overworked.
approved, the
And
insurance
I've
gonna go
just
prove
first
this.
out. I'm seeing it completely. Dr. Jack, we are running out of time. I can't believe we could have Dr. Jeff on for a while. And last question for Dr. Jeff.
I just said, what would you recommend to someone? How do you get in touch with you? We are we're distributing the LifeVantage products through the Ultimate Men's Clinic, so you can get the products. But what would your advice be to someone how do you check it out? How do you start with it?
I
Where
mean,
should
I
they go?
think if you're really interested, every Tuesday night I do a webinar. The best way to find that is to either follow me on Instagram or follow my Facebook page, which is Dr. Jeff Effect, Dr. Jeff Effect. That's my new platform to talk about our healthcare system and everything that's going bad with it. So if you follow me there, you'll get the updates to all the Zooms that I do and all the podcasts that I'm on. And then you can find out more about the products and really how to change the paradigm of living longer and living better and getting all the stuff out of your life that really hold you back.
All right. And
That's
go
great.
to
Thank you.
theultimatemensclinic.com to check out Dr. Jack Rocco. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Dan.
All
inviting
right.
me.
That
Thank
was
you,
the
Jeff.
special simulcast Neil Haley Show and the Ultimate Men's Movement, guys. Take care.